And I was like, hey, I was just sitting around, wanted to have this fun thought experiment. And that is, if a reporter came around and they're like, Dan Bennett, right? That video guy. Yeah. What do you think if you had to say one superpower, what do you think his superpower is? And I just want to see what people thought so I could use that as part of this new direction I was going. And 12 of them, and I still have all 12 emails, said something very similar to it's your voice. It's like when I see you in a video, you're calm, and I feel like this video thing isn't so scary. It's when you coached me through building my studio, I never felt overwhelmed by the tech because you had my back and we got through it. And now I know how to run a camera like, I've done it my whole life. It was some version of my voice and demeanor helping during this crazy time.
You are very calming.
I appreciate it because inside it's a hamster wheel. So
unified everything. I'm talking to clients sometime and unified comes out. We got this unified way of doing, or I was talking to a friend the other day. We were talking about, how it's like, you need to incorporate unified into more stuff. It's like, it's
unify all your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's
so true.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. Go ahead.
What it makes me think of, sorry to interrupt you. What it makes me think of is being at the end of this rebrand. The last 2.5 weeks has been just dotting I's and crossing T's. And that literally is unifying all the loose pieces. And it's intense work because there's just so many things we built over the last 10 years that we got to make sure are updated or connected again. Mm-hmm. But that unification is a powerful word because that's all you kind of want when you look at a mess sometimes. It's just, all right, everything's unified. It's all right here. I could take a look at it, feel better about it instead of just a tornado flying through.
Well, let's talk about that rebrand a little bit. So, and then you take like a 5-minute break and then 25 minutes. And then every so often it's a longer break and it's more structured. But it kind of happens naturally anyway. Yeah. I got to warm up my cup of coffee. That's a break.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that you're talking about though, because that's that self-awareness thing. You also said try or experiment, which I think is so important because you can do experiments without disrupting your whole natural day. Yeah. But through that self-awareness part, you'll discover things and maybe they don't work for everyone, but they work for you. So like 2 things I do that are critical for me.
Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, Unified Plugins, and your host of the Builders Podcast. Here on The Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Dan Bennett. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Howdy. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've built a lot of stuff and have some calluses to prove it. So I love this idea.
That's why we have you here. Yeah, because if you're building stuff, this is your home. So you've built some stuff. You have a brand called Hot Sauce. You were the creator. Are you the CEO of that brand? The head honcho?
Yeah, that's probably where I fall on our org chart, I guess. I love the word founder because I feel like it's kind of never done, even if it seems done to the public. Right. But yeah, long time in the making.
Very nice. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about your journey. You just mentioned about, I always check before we start the recording that I can pronounce the name right. I'm like, Dan Bennett seems straightforward. And I said, well, it could have been Benet. And then you said, and then you told me, well, actually.
Little family tree story. Yeah. My paternal grandfather emancipated himself when he was 14. And his original last name was Benoit, so French Canadian, Benoit. He was adopted by a family called Peterson. And obviously, when there's emancipation, a lot of times there's some reasons for that. I don't know all the details, but I know he did not want that name anymore. So when he legally changed his name, he tried to Americanize Benoit, which became Bennett. And there's a ton of Bennetts in the Midwest, and I'm not related to any of them.
Let that be on record. That I have no idea who those other Bennetts are. Yeah. But I was close. I was like, it could have been Benet.
Yeah, very close. Love it.
So cool. So let's dive into your story a little bit. Let's get a little background. What your entrepreneurial journeys look like, and how you've landed doing the things you're doing today. How that informs everything. I'll throw it to you.
Let's do it. Yeah, like many entrepreneurs, the beginning of my building was kind of accidental. So 100 years ago, I was an engineer, but I was also in bands that toured and stuff like that. So I had like the critical and the creative going at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Of course, the creative elements were always more fun, so they got more of my attention and passion. And I kind of I didn't even know what the word entrepreneur was, but I kind of accidentally started like helping other bands build and this will date me, build their MySpace pages and print their t-shirts and like do their flyers and some of their creative on their websites and stuff.
For the kids out there, MySpace was...
yeah. TikTok for old people, I guess.
TikTok.
Yeah. To be honest, I kind of miss it. The format. But yeah, like there was just a lot of other bands that saw our band. Like, how did you do that with your webpage? And how do your t-shirts look so cool? And I did all that stuff myself just to like save money. So I started helping other bands tell their story through, those formats. And we were getting towards the end of our career, if you want to say that. We did some big stuff, but we were never signed and went huge. So it was kind of like, we're in our 30s. Let's wrap this up.
Were you the singer in the band, or were you
sang and played guitar.
Yeah, guitar.
Primary songwriter. So
I got to ask, what genre? Like
modern rock is what I always said, like touring rock. So some of my favorite bands back then were like Chevelle and Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace. So just kind of heavy modern rock at the time.
Nice.
Very simple. Left a lot of space for words. So, and my fellow bandmates were kind of there to prop up this creative thing I wanted to be able to express. So the last thing we did was, again, dating myself a little here, was a CD DVD combo. And they were kind of coming into prevalence at the time, where you'd buy one disc and you'd get some video with it. And I'm like, I want something when I'm 80 to go, look what I did, so so we did that, and I bought a handy cam, took it into the studio, some behind the scenes, some fun stuff, partying with friends or whatever. And then we made a music video, and that was the last endeavor. I thought, music video, no big deal. 6 months later, we finished something that I'm still proud of, but was the hardest thing I had ever done. But during that 6 months of producing a narrative music video and trying to do a great job doing it, I fell in love with video. And that's the final creative component where I'm like, this medium turns heads. This holds attention. Okay. So that was like back 2010, 2014, struck out on my own, did many of the things that video makers do. Did corporate, did government contracting, a little bit of film and television, did weddings for a season. Like I've been, through all of the...
Holy smoke, tried everything. That's good.
Yeah,
that's how you figure out what you want to do. Yeah.
And what you don't want to do. Yeah.
You don't want to do, right.
Yeah, and it's rare for me to meet a video person who's not had a season of time where they did weddings. War stories fly around like crazy. And then in 2014, striking on my own, I started to really narrow down what I wanted to do. And so I was still taking these corporate jobs with like Fortune 500 companies all over the United States, but I would come home to my original home city of Flint, Michigan. Very poor, not a lot of opportunity, not a lot going on. And I would look across the hall of my dedicated office building, and I would see my neighbors, and they couldn't afford me. And they'd always ask me, like, how do you find this success? And I'm like, well, none of my clients are from Michigan. That's how I fly all over and, make their videos and then come home. So in 2017, I was moving from behind the camera to in front of it for my own company. It was time for me to start making content to promote my own company. And I realized very quickly that my filmmaking knowledge made that transition easy. And I'm like, oh, okay, hold on. What if I just get rid of the jargon and get rid of the theory of filmmaking and just distill the tools and share those with professionals and entrepreneurs? I bet if they weren't overwhelmed by thinking they had to become filmmakers and they could just look at it as a system in their business, I might be able to get them in front of the camera where they can look and sound just as good as some of the big dogs. And 2017, we launched what's now called Hot Sauce Studio, where we help people build home studios, and it worked. And I'm like, okay, it built confidence in those people. They look and sound good on calls and when they make content. And I'm like, all right, we got some momentum going. And then 2020, of course, shut down. We had to figure out, can we do this remotely and still help people build studios, but I can't go there. And then that worked. And I think that was the first time in my career I've been ahead of the curve. So we started helping people remotely build studios, and now 95% of all of our Hot Sauce Studio clients are remote, and we help them all over the world, which is cool. As long as they got access to Amazon, we can help them get from A to Z. And the last thing I'll share there, because I think this is so cool and it's such a powerful thing for anyone listening or watching, is what you've seen over the last 5+ years, but definitely the last 5, is all these big corporate entities are trying their hardest to seem human. user generated content. They're using, influencers, all this different kind of stuff. They're sponsoring people that create content for them, all to seem more human. So you can relate to the human and want to buy the product instead of this big faceless entity. And the beautiful thing is the people I help, they're already human. We don't have to play that game. We just have to show up. And we actually have the pure form of what the big dogs are after, which is just showing up on camera authentically and, making it easy for people to trust us. So believe it or not, that's the short version.
That makes sense. I mean, you've been online doing social media or whatever for any length of time. You hear that about that word authentic and not overproducing things. And I imagine like corporate, they can't help themselves but to overproduce.
It's the way it's always been.
But most of us, the average person, is just imperfect. We're just out here. Yep. Like me recording this podcast. I'm very imperfect, and I lean right into it.
Love it. Yeah, I used to, thank God not so much anymore, but I used to get asked a lot, especially pre-pandemic, because I was doing a lot more in-person public speaking at that time. And I would just get asked a lot like, man, you're so like just yourself and authentic. How do I be more authentic? And I'd always like wince in fear of like, oh God, if you're asking another human how to be authentic, you're already going the wrong way. So don't do that. But since you asked, I'm going to give you my version of it. And then maybe you can look at my version and start to distill your own just from the inspiration. And my version is very simple. I'm lazy. It's not a secret. I'm very lazy. Now you might look at my work and my ethic and not think that, but I do the best job I can at those things because I'm lazy and I want to be done. I want smooth. I want simple. I want easy. So I show up authentically because I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the energy and the time to put on a persona. I can't fake anything because I got to use that time and energy on more important things. So you just get me, love it or hate it, take it or leave it. This is what you get. But that triggers something in people where they're like, oh man, you're being yourself so much that actually becomes your identity, which is the thing that we're kind of after. So,
yeah. I always think though, like, I think some people, the advice out there, just be yourself or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know if that person should be themselves, but you got to find a positive part of you to be.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah. Maybe you don't want to be that self. But no, that's very cool. So like COVID was a big thing for you, like figuring out how to do this stuff remotely. And I'm very curious, like, what was that transition like? Did you, was that like a no-brainer thing? We got to figure this out. Or what was that? What was that like?
I wish it was, man. I wish the story was like, I had so much foresight.
I'm like, all we have to do is just Amazon, this, that, man, we're done.
I mean, like many people, and it's never a woe is me story. I come from being poor, abusive childhood, awesome single mom who got me and my brother out, the whole thing, so like rock bottom wasn't like new to me. It wasn't like we lost everything and then went, oh no, I lost everything. And I'm like, oh, this is a familiar place. How do we rebuild this time? And as I was kind of doing that, which had some hardships in it, but also some really, really cool things, excuse me, sorry. Some cool things that happen. I have this thing, and I want to preface this, put an asterisk by it. I'm not brave. So this is not about bravery, but I have this thing where anytime fear shows up, I invite it to sit down and I play some poker with it. Like, let's see how this hand plays out. Come in. I'm going to address that you're here. I'm going to face you. Let's play this game. And maybe if I do well enough, I'll make it through this. But I've never been one to either run away from it or try and keep it in a separate locked room. I always just kind of face it. So as the shutdown was happening, I'm like, on paper, what's the dumbest thing that we could do right now? And so what we did was shift everything over and start giving free videos away to anyone that was inside a radius physically in Michigan that we knew we could drive to. And we put all of our rig on a cart with wheels, and we literally could go down the sidewalk of a small town, set up outside, keep our 10-foot distance from anyone we wanted to work with, and still have a mic and a camera on them, and help them create video so they could give out real quick to their audience, hey, you can still buy food here, but you got to go around back, knock 4 times on the red door. We'll bring it out, put it in your trunk, whatever the thing was that they were doing to remain open as essential businesses. And so giving away free video when we needed to make money more than ever was the crazy, like, that makes no sense. Let's just do that. And it opened so many doors. And it also showed me that this Sentry stand with wheels and a mic and a camera clamped to it and a LED light off to the side, all in a rig, meant anyone can do this anywhere.
Just roll it up to them and be like, here you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the next thought was like, this all came from Amazon during the pandemic. And the next thought was, well, if I drop ship this somewhere, and I had a couple tutorials and then we met together afterwards, I bet someone else could set this up and they could make their own videos. And then it wouldn't be just one video while I'm there. It'd be however many you wanted to make over the rest of your career. And that was kind of the genesis of where it came from.
Oh, that's very cool. And did you you started working, like before that you were working with more corporate, and this was, now you were focusing in on like local, smaller businesses?
Yeah, we were trying to blend because I was already feeling that like, oh, in 2017, I was like, I think I could help other people do this on their own. And we had some of those clients, but I was still traveling to get the bigger paychecks to keep everything rolling. And I was trying to blend it out and eventually get rid of those soulless kind of clients. And then the shutdown happened. I'm like, well, fate has apparently made my decision for me. So wherever we ramp back up from here, it's only going to be solely focused on those sorts of people. So internally, our little tagline for our team is, we help those who film themselves. And that's kind of our focus now.
Oh, nice. It's interesting how like events like that can just transform us, and actually for the better if you really lean into it and you're brave or you face your
or stupid.
Or stupid. You got to be in this, if you're an entrepreneur, got to be a little bit stupid.
Yeah. And I 100%, a lot of times when I chat with other entrepreneurs, I'll jokingly say like, we do this on purpose, right? I just want to make sure, check in. We're doing this because we want to. Okay. Just want to make sure. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a metaphor and analogy guy, and I used to view that as a deficit, and now it's a total superpower. I'm thankful for, but it's the only way I really know how to learn or teach. Luckily, it helps take complex issues and make them more digestible. But when you only learn through metaphor and someone's data driven or something, it's a little bit harder for me sometimes to get the message, and I'll have to kind of go back through. So as we were going through that time, I pictured those moments in film where like maybe you get punched in the face and you fall to the floor, and that's like such a terrible thing. But then while you're down there, you look under the bed and you see something and you're like, oh, there's something in that box that I totally forgot about, or whatever the case is. And the devastation that happened led to the discovery of what you needed next. So it's a little,
I love that. That's great.
A little poetic and a little hokey, but as I was getting my butt whooped in 2020, I was having those kinds of thoughts, like invite it in, play poker with it, let it happen, and let's see what we can discover from here.
So you just, so you don't fight it. You don't run away from it. You just face it. I mean, I think about that just kind of in my business, my agency, and what's happening in web development right now, and with AI and everything coming into it. It's freaking a lot of people out. And me, for a second, it's like, come on, I just got this thing going. You're going to throw me this curveball? But the thing is with business, and I've been doing business for a couple decades, different things, different industries, different types of businesses. And there's always those curveballs. There's sometimes it's a big event though. Like AI feels like a big event. That's, I have to make moves to prepare to create that bridge to the next thing. But the same with COVID, like you're just moving along. Tons of businesses were in that situation. Restaurants especially, it's fascinating. The ones that did adapt and adapt well. Yeah. There's still restaurants you go to now. It's like, you actually, when you pick up food, like I just have to park my car here. And they just started doing that during COVID, and they're still doing it.
Yeah,
like, that's really convenient.
If it works, right? Yeah. And I'm sure some of that was through necessity and discovery. And, it's not 100% true, but there is a sense of those sorts of catastrophic type events do separate, the wheat and the chaff. So like some of those restaurants made it because they were willing to like pivot. And I guess such a trendy word, and I know it, but like it's so true. You see Ross on the stairs with a couch, like pivot. Do it now. We don't have much time. Yeah.
For the Friends fans out there. Yeah. That's one of the best bloopers out there. Pivot. No, and right. And I think, it also kind of, those events are the ones that, the businesses that are well run are going to do better. If you're like right on the verge of collapse and something like that happens, probably out of business. So it's kind of a
yeah.
luck
And
of the draw.
we got a small PPP, kept our small team on for 12 weeks and we ran as hard as we ever had, sales and marketing as hard as we could. And even that, us reaching out and doing those videos for people, we ended up with about 250,000 views total across 7 businesses. It did really well. It did its own thing and it kind of took off aside from us, which was cool. That brought a lot of attention, but not any business. So we actually did shut down. And when I did recover later in the year, it was new, quote unquote, because we had a event that was already planned. Keynotes were flying in, tickets were already selling. We shut that whole thing down, refunded all the money. I was a landlord at the time. All my tenants quit paying rent because in Michigan, you could not evict anyone. So they just quit paying and lived there for 9 months for free. There was like all kinds of stuff going on where I was like, oh man, being a small business owner in America right now is not the greatest thing. But I think because we're nimble, because we're smaller, I was able to take advantage of it. And then, like you said, bigger businesses could be a little bit more ready were able to shift some of their resources. So,
wow. Yeah, so how did you, is that, I guess you would call that resilience to get through a period like that.
I love that you use that word. I'll tell a super short version of the story because the whole thing is remarkable. But I went out into the woods for about 2 weeks. My partner at the time on a credit card she probably shouldn't have used because we were both just at zero out of nowhere, with COVID. Got on a website called Outdoorsy. And it's like Airbnb, but for camper trailers and pop-up trailers and stuff. And she got with this young couple and rented me this little 70s pop-up trailer. And I took our junky SUV up north in Michigan and just went on some land and stayed for a while. No agenda, a whiteboard, a book, and just like, what's next? Let my thoughts happen. Cried a little, laughed a little, just like let it happen. And coming back out of that, I wrote about 35 people on my email list. That were all either previous clients that had become close or colleagues or friends that are entrepreneurs, just people I knew well. I'm like, hey, I'm not looking for anything, don't want a handout, but keep your ear to the ground because I am building something new. And once it's ready, I would love to kind of tell you guys first. And also, if you ever want to chat about how hard this is for everyone right now, I'm more than willing to do that. And I got 100% response to that email. I was like, whoa, we're all in tune with what's going on right now.
Right.
And a lot of it was like, I've been inspired that you were open about what you're going through. Thank you. And, sharing information, blah, blah, blah. So because that worked, I was like, let me write this group again because they're pretty responsive. And I was like, hey, I was just sitting around, wanted to have this fun thought experiment. And that is, if a reporter came around and they're like, Dan Bennett, right? That video guy. Yeah. What do you think if you had to say one superpower, what do you think his superpower is? And I just want to see what people thought so I could use that as part of this new direction I was going. And 12 of them, and I still have all 12 emails, said something very similar to it's your voice. It's like when I see you in a video, you're calm and I feel like this video thing isn't so scary. It's when you coached me through building my studio, I never felt overwhelmed by the tech because you had my back and we got through it. And now I know how to run a camera like, I've done it my whole life. It was some version of my voice and demeanor helping during this crazy time.
You are very calming.
I appreciate it because inside it's a hamster wheel. So, but I had never heard that. And I never heard your voice drives me crazy, but I never heard that it mattered. And so I've leveraged that ever since August of 2020. Like as soon as that came through and there was that many people saying the same thing, I was like, whoa, I need to pay attention to this and treat it as important. And I have ever since. So I really try and bring to the forefront just a soothing way to do this very scary thing that is putting yourself out there on video.
That's an amazing story. That's actually incredible because reaching out and how do other people perceive you? The people you've been working with.
I was like,
that could have went bad. That could have went.
Yeah, bro, hang it up. We've been supporting you for years, and you said, right. Don't do anymore.
We're just needing an excuse. Yeah. This is it. Yeah. You don't know what you're doing. You're asking us for help.
Yeah, like I'm not recommending anyone to you. No. Yeah. And it was cool that just like, hey, thanks for keeping it real was like the impact. Cause that's all I ever want from anyone, shoot me straight. We do a lot of help making, people better on video over time. And we call it the smack kiss. So like, mwah, like do better next time, but I love you. And I said that with love and the next video is going to be better. So we try and take that like loving critique type approach to a lot of the stuff we do. And I was expecting like, if it did go bad, it would probably just be like, now that I live in the South, it's, oh, bless your heart. you're, you're reaching out for help. Bless your heart.
Right.
But it went well. Yeah, it was a big change in my life.
That's good. And then you took that, you took that feedback on board, and you let that blend into your messaging and everything you're doing going forward. So so in that time you did, were you got hot sauce now? Was it hot sauce then, or is that a new thing that's happening? And where does that hot sauce come from? Because I think I mentioned this on our pre-call. Like, I went to your site. Now I'm a web developer, web designer. And I'm like, wow, that's a really cool branding. That's a really cool brand. And it just, it looks hot.
Yeah.
Like, that's very cool. And I was curious, where that comes from, and what that if you transition from something else.
Yeah, we did. So the names that I had for different products and stuff along the way were always just kind of self-serving. They weren't meant to like break through in any kind of marketing setting. And that's because I've always been kind of contrarian to the normal way of doing things. So I'm like, if I can't make it serving myself, then, maybe I'm not meant for this. So along the way, although we do a lot of marketing and sales and all that stuff, like I never really relied on the brand for that. So we were video for entrepreneurs for a long, long time because I just wanted like IBM or General Motors. I just wanted people to understand what we did because I was sick of explaining what we did.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it did its job. I love every moment of video for entrepreneurs. It made sense. Then it started to work against us as we grew. So, I'm not really an entrepreneur. It's like, no. It's not only for entrepreneurs. And then like, okay. Yeah, we're starting to feel the friction. So during that same exact time, we had a product, not a brand, a product called Hot Sauce Editing. And that is a agency model, subscription based, where you give us all your assets and we make beautiful videos and give them back. And if you're prolific, it's a great fit for like staying consistent. And that brand, I guess we'll say, I didn't think about it that way at the time, started to take on a life of its own. And it started to get talked about without me being there a little bit. And I'm like, okay, this is what brands do. Yeah, this is that thing I never even tried to foray into because I didn't even know how to build one. And the story, it's so beautiful to me, and its simplicity. It's so great. While we were helping people build studios, and back then it was called 3 Hour Studio because we have 3 1-hour sessions that it takes to get it done. While we were building studios, I would give away one free edit. So now that you look and sound great and you're dialed in, make a video, we'll edit it so you can see what's possible now. And we didn't even offer editing back then. So like, it was just me as a professional editor giving them one video so they could feel empowered by, ooh, that actually looks and sounds pretty good. Like, And it was just to keep the ball rolling, right?
Sure.
So every time I did that for years and years and years, I would be like, just give me your raw assets. I'll put a little hot sauce on it and give it back, and again, metaphor and analogy guy. So that held so strongly that when it became time to name this product, as we built the agency around editing, I was like, I'm just going to call it Hot Sauce Editing because I've been saying that for years and I'm lazy. Again, I don't want to think about a name. I'm just going to call it this. And then that took on a life of its own over the last 2 years. And I'm like, we're going to take this hot sauce and, pun intended, spread it all the way across all of our products because it is fun and it's easy to understand. And whether it's a studio or you work with us on strategy or it's your editing, we are taking what you created and just putting a little hot sauce on it. So it's kind of fun to be, we're just days away from our brand launch, and it's fun to know that everyone's going to be able to have a little play with this and, use some of the different terms like spicy and, flavor and all these different things. And,
you could have a lot of fun with that.
It'll be fun. Yeah. We, our current working title, you saw it, on the site that's live, but we just haven't told the public for a couple days now. We will, is take your video content from bland to damn. And it's just like a little cheeky, poke at hot sauce is hot. And if you get too much of it, you might be a little, so
damn.
Yeah, that's awesome. It, man. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. I think, it's interesting, like how the brand name, like I feel like the best ones out there are like ones you can play with that become kind of part of your everything, like the culture and the dialogue with internally and externally. You're just, it becomes just natural. Like work for me, unified web design, unified everything. I'm talking to clients sometime and unified comes out, we got this unified way of doing, or I was talking to a friend the other day. We were talking about, how it's like you need to incorporate unified into more stuff. It's like it's
unify all your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's,
It's so true.
yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What it makes me think of, sorry to interrupt you. What it makes me think of is being at the end of this rebrand. The last 2.5 weeks has been just dotting I's and crossing T's. And that literally is unifying all the loose pieces. And it's intense work because there's just so many things we built over the last 10 years that we got to make sure are updated or connected again. Mm-hmm. But that unification is a powerful word because that's all you kind of want when you look at a mess sometimes. It's just, all right, everything's unified. It's all right here. I could take a look at it, feel better about it instead of just a tornado flying through.
Well, let's talk about that rebrand a little bit. So, I mean, you are doing a lot of things. There's a lot of, we talk about unified. There's a lot of things to unify. You got all these different things from a marketing, sales perspective to how you approach the tech and actually deliver the product. All of that has to come together. Yeah. Was that like what was that like? What was that? Tell us that story.
Yeah, man, I'm tired. The interesting thing is, so like I said, 100 years ago as an engineer, 90 years ago, I was a graphic designer. So I still carry that talent through my work and I still do a chunk of that stuff myself because it's enjoyable. So even though I'm very tired, I've been at about 60 hours a week for the last 6 weeks or so. Definitely not bragging for anyone listening. And like those components are so fun. And I'm watching this go from this kind of like dull blue and orange, very basic thing to this like fiery red, like, oh my gosh, this is so fun to even look at as we update things. So the first thing I did was I created 2 buckets and this really helped my brain kind of cool off. Like my head has felt to me like a car engine lately. Like you don't want to push it too far. If it's getting a little hot, you want to pull over and let it, simmer. So I've been really cognizant of that as I've been working. And, I found what helped is there's 2 buckets and one is things that can be changed right now because no one sees them. And that's okay. And then things like your social media banners and stuff like that you can't change until the day.
Right.
So you can have all your art ready, but you can't launch until you launch. And there was a little bit of in between starting on the 25th here in a couple days. We roll out 5 days of social and newsletter posts saying it's coming. Here's why we're changing. Here's what's going on. And here's the thing. So that's a little bit in the middle and we could pre-build that, but it was mainly those 2 buckets. Then I took each one of those buckets. Can I do it right now? Or does it have to be built and wait? And then I looked at all the things in there that are fun to me and I spread them out very evenly throughout the work. So every few days I would be kind of rewarded by doing something I really like updating our YouTube channel banner. It's not up yet, but I could work on the artwork with one of our artists and be kind of like, charged by that. Like, oh, it looks so cool and I can't wait for people to see it. It became fun. Then I would go to like the next task after I got that recharge and it's like, here's our 10 lead magnets and all of them need new artwork and all of them need new links. And then all of the sequences that follow those lead magnets for 3 emails all need to be updated and, and then tick boxes for 2 days. So I tried to spread that stuff out to kind of give myself little desserts along the way of the things I really like doing. And I've never done that before in any of my work. And I think I'm going to keep doing it, keep applying it to anything I do where I break up the hard stuff with stuff I know I like.
That's actually great. I guess I was trying to think of things that way too, because I feel like there's so many things in day-to-day business where it's just monotony or just repetitive or just things that aren't fun.
Yep.
Yeah, but once in a while you throw something in there that lights you up. This is what I'm here for, and having that balance and kind of going, but being thoughtful about it like you are. That's a really interesting approach.
Trying, yeah. I always say the most painful part about self-awareness is that whole awareness part. It's just,
right.
It's reality. But when you are aware, you can also identify the good stuff. So yeah. And with hot sauce, I've been allowing it to be fun for me because I want to have at least a percentage of the work I'm helping people with. Cause it is hard. We always say like video, especially when you're working with a professional, is simple, asterisk, bottom of the page. I didn't say easy, just like a lot of things, right? So like I'm trying to identify for my clients too, if we set this up right, this part can be fun. And the ideation phase could be fun because you love coming up with ideas or whatever the thing is. So I'm trying to like use this in this new brand to give myself permission to teach other people how to find a little bit of fun in the hard work of video.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, coming up with the ideas is the fun part too. Like just dreaming it all up, and whether it's a new brand or a new website or a new product or a new offering. I mean, it's fun coming up with those things. But then you got to execute.
Yep.
You got to get in there.
Yep.
You got to get in there.
Yeah. It's window shopping and then wallet. Like,
right, exactly. But do you use any techniques to manage your, like you said, you're putting 60 hours a week in? Do you, like, there's Pomodoro, different methods out there to kind of block time and stuff. Do you do anything thoughtful like that? I'm curious because you're doing a lot.
Yeah, to a certain degree. I kind of reverse block my time. So I put things that absolutely have to be done and it takes more than me into blocks. And that could be like sales calls. It could be working with the client directly. It could be me and my team meeting and our scrums in the morning. And I purposely put those in places or make the availability in places that leave time in between. And then I'm always targeting my free time, quote unquote, to do the things only Dan can do. And so I kind of reverse do time block. Instead of this is Dan time, do this stuff. I'm like, this is where everything else can happen, where I need another human. And then I can fill the time in between with what I need to do. And that list is never short. So I just go for the 2 hours I have, and then I shut it down and I go to the next thing I have to do that involves someone else. So it's a little bit purposeful, but it's definitely clunky and weird. And, just kind of something I found works for me. But we use Notion to run the whole business. So I'm trying to get better and better over time to, work with my ops manager. She's a beast. Like, to do things a little bit more appropriately so everyone else isn't having to adapt to my style. I'm adapting to our system while I'm interacting with them, and then I can go be weird on my own time, so, but that's about as close as I get to like a really structured approach to work. Yeah.
Let's say, I mean, it's because you're doing, you're still splitting things up. You're doing a variety of things. You're throwing your stuff in. Like, I think that's like people talk about burnout and stuff. And I feel the same, like running an agency is hardcore. I got a team. I got clients to deal with, partners to deal with. I got projects to deal with. Sometimes I'm in the code. Sometimes I'm not, just managing things. Sometimes I'm, but throughout the week, I'm doing so many different things. I don't feel like I burn out because of the variety. Like even on the weekends I work, but I'm doing different kinds of work. Usually I'll save my strategy for like Saturdays, right? Or I'm doing my editing on Sundays for the podcast. Like I sit down with a cup of coffee and for an hour or a couple hours or whatever, I'm doing that. And, but it breaks it up. And so Pomodoro is great. I mean, I've actually been experimenting with that a little bit, recently, even got an app for it. Now I'm just kind of testing it. And sometimes it's really helped me because it keeps me focused and it does give me those little breaks, those structured breaks. Cause it's like, if anyone knows about Pomodoro, it's like, basically I think it's like 25 minutes and then you take like a 5-minute break and then 25 minutes. And then every so often it's a longer break and it's more structured. But it kind of happens naturally anyway. I got to warm up my cup of coffee. That's a break.
Right. Yeah. I love that you're talking about it, though, because that's that self-awareness thing. You also said try or experiment, which I think is so important because you can do experiments without disrupting your whole natural day. Yeah. But through that self-awareness part, you'll discover things and maybe they don't work for everyone, but they work for you. So like 2 things I do that are critical for me. And it's funny because sometimes if I show someone my calendar, they spot this right away. I nap every day. Now there's days where I don't get it, but like most of the time it's there and it's scheduled and I can like go lights out for 45 and get up. And my whole life has been that way. Even back when I was an engineer and couldn't take a nap at work, I wanted one at around that time, so, that's huge for me. And mentally, the bonus of that outside of rest is it makes the day feel like 2 days. So one's got kind of a flavor to it and the second one's got kind of a flavor to it. And not that I'm getting more done or any of that stuff people say, but like I feel like I was able to take 2 cracks at the day. And then the other is in those blocks where there's space for me to work. I allow myself, if I catch flow, to take it all the way until the next stop. Cause there's nothing worse than catching flow and 15 minutes later being like, dang it, but doorbell rang or whatever. And And I know that I don't catch flow every time I work. So I try to leave enough space in those blocks where if I get going and I can do like an hour's worth of work and I'm just cranking, nothing's there to, stop me from that. So those two things, naps and allowing space for flow, work really well for me. But there's days where I don't get a nap and I catch no flow and it's just a grind. And it's like, right. I'm glad I'm decent at what I do.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think one of the things I struggle with Pomodoro, especially just getting that 25 minutes, is you get in the flow. And in fact, I was just trying it like a day or two ago. I was a coding project and I was really I was like locked in. I'm in the flow. I'm like, and I heard it go off. I'm like, just one more minute. Next thing I know, like it's like an hour later. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not doing Pomodoro today.
Beautiful flexibility. Yeah. And like when it was first introduced to me, one of the first things they showed is the tomato timer. Right. I don't know if you've ever seen, right?
Yes.
So it's often connected with that. So when they first introduced it and I saw this picture of a tomato timer and they were explaining that there was a reason for that, I was like, I'd just be throwing tomatoes all over the room. Like just for me, I'm not saying it's a bad method, but for me, I'd be like, dang it, dude. Yeah. You interrupted me. But no,
everyone's different. It's like,
yeah. I have one, I don't know how well this would translate audio only, so I won't go too deep into it. But it's kind of like a way to give importance to a list of things, which I've always struggled with. If you give me 10 things I need to do, it's tough for me to be like, what should I do first?
Right.
It's the Eisenhower matrix. It's been around a long time. It's just a quadrant. Do, delegate, do later, delete, right? Just very, very simple. But it was still tough for me to look at a list of 10 things and be like, well, which ones are those? I don't know. So I built a Notion database and I put in there, is this important or is it not important? And is this like, critical or not? So you could put something with two of those decisions in one of those quadrants without thinking about it. So I'd have my task list, and this is all in like a free template I share with people if they like it, because I built it and why not? You put your task list in, and then you just go through without thinking about it. Important, not important, 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 not important, not important, important. And then like critical, not critical, and then you can switch views from do to delegate to, do later to, delete. And that changed a lot for me, because then I was able to just brain dump into the list, go through with a mindset of important or not important, and then a mindset of critical or not. And then boom, it did it for me. So I wasn't looking at a list of 10. Now I just click on the do view and there's two things there and I do those first. And then I go to the delegate view and I do those next, and then time's up and I go back to my next thing. So that one helped me a lot. But I had to hack it and make it my own version for it to work for me. Yeah, but it's fun.
That sounds like you could make like a custom chat GPT for that or something. Drop something in there and just be like, here's all my stuff. This is, what they are, and do it for me. Okay. Those
just
are the two.
Ask me some questions and I'll answer truthfully and tell me what to do.
Exactly. So this is so you've done all this work. You've been, how long have you been, when did the project start to rebrand? How long have you been at it?
Yeah, technically 18 months, but not full time.
Okay.
So it's always been in my free time, which there's not a lot of. So, hour here, 2 hours there. And then 6 months ago, I was close enough where I'm like, I could pull the trigger on this if I want. So I started just having general conversations with other entrepreneurs. What do you think of this? Whatever. And while I was having those conversations, I was also on other calls that had nothing to do with trying to sell anyone anything. And I would mention, and we got hot sauce editing. We help people do their editing, whatever. And people would stop me like, what's it called? Dude, that's such a great name. Oh my gosh. That just kept happening. And it happened so much that I'm like 95% of the way to, I'm going to do this. And then 2 months ago, I'm like, having a conversation with someone, down in Austin. I'm in Fort Worth. He's down in Austin. I see him a couple times a year in person, just in DMs and LinkedIn. And I was like, yeah, you got this thing, hot sauce editing, because he had seen hot sauce editing. He's like, I love that name. And I'm like, well, it's back burner, but I'm thinking about calling everything hot sauce. And he's like, yeah, why don't you do that already? And I was like, and that was the straw, right? Yeah. So, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. So that was just a little bit over 2 months ago, where I then was like, we're going to take everything we've built and been working on and actually roll it out. So
amazing. Well, that's cool. You're kind of just throwing it out there and you just randomly, and you're getting that feedback. And that's how you know you got a good idea, when you're getting that feedback. And
when someone's more excited about something else than me, I'm excited because, you know, I'm pushing 45. I'd like to get to a point to where maybe I am just the wizard behind the curtain. I'm not interested. My ego is so far away these days that I don't care if you know if I made that video or not. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And of course, I would like to maybe be able to sell something that doesn't have my face attached to it. I love being on video. I love making video and all that. But I feel like under Hot Sauce Video, someone else on my team could make a video about a topic and it would be just fine. So I'm looking forward to that. That's
a good place to be. Yeah, that's sometimes people do it backwards, where they build the brand and then they build the personal brand. Yeah. But you're kind of going the other direction, which is cool. So you're launching. What does the launch look like? You just all one day, just throw it all on social media and update the websites. You got it all coordinated. Everyone's going to push a button. They all got their own buttons.
Yeah, it's about 40 buttons, but yeah. That's what's going to look like. So cool. The last 5 days of April, and it's not like, you know, I'm changing from Coke to Coke Zero or something. Yeah, May. Sorry, man. See, I don't even know where I live. Last 5 days of May.
Yes.
Totally. So like no one's anticipating this big, you know, whatever. But across everything, the same message is going out for those 5 days in a row. It's like something's coming and there's different colors and it's a little bit of a different speech pattern. It's like, huh. And then the next day, because we put our newsletter out once a week, now people are going to be getting an email every day for 5 days. And be like, hey, it's us again. So anyway, you know what we were talking about yesterday? Well, this is where we're going. There's a new brand, and then the next day is like, here's why we've done this. And the internal subject or subtitle is, the brand's changing, the mission hasn't. So like we want people to know we're still doing the same work. It's just going to look different, feel different. And then the final day is last day of May, and it's like, see you tomorrow. And then June 1st is when everything goes out. And then I'm sure there'll be like 2 weeks of cleaning up and mopping and trying to figure out what link is broken and all that. But,
that's fun. That's exciting. That's exciting internally and for you, with this concept coming out like that. And then it gets, you know, kind of creates buzz and creates, you know, excitement around your brand, and that, you know, that's very cool. I want to follow some of your stuff and to see you do this.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And something we've done manually the whole time, but now will be automated. I'm so excited about it. Is just our affiliation program. So like I've always had referral word of mouth. It's been the crux of my business since the beginning. But I'm really looking forward to pushing a program where you can just sign up, get a link. And if you're on a call with someone, they're like, man, video is so hard. You can be like, I know a guy, and just drop the link and make money. So
I need it.
Yeah, that'll be fun to be able to just be like, oh, here it is. A few more days.
It was like last year, about a year ago, I needed videographers and stuff. And I was tapping my network, and now I got a couple I can send business to, but we're always, you know, we do our thing, but we don't do everything. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool situation you got there.
Yeah. Like Power Partners is a definite goal for the rest of the year. Because so many people I know do really incredible things for business. And sometimes, like, I have a friend who's an incredible course builder on behalf of other people. Mm-hmm. And a lot of courses do include video. And when they're like, what about video? She just bolts me on, and it's flawless. I love that kind of work because it's easy to a point, but it's also like validating to know that there's enough value of the product on the shelf that someone else wants to sell it in their store too. So
very cool. Well, thank you for sharing your journey and your story and talking about your brand. And this rebrand thing is so cool. I would end by saying, you know, where do people go to learn more about you and your brand? You're at Hot Sauce. By the time it's going to come out in a couple weeks, so you'll be already launched. We're in the mid-May, or a little towards, you know, somewhere around there at the moment. So by the time this airs, you'll be launched. Where do people go to see this awesome new brand?
Yeah. hotsauce.video.
Hotsauce.
That feels really good to say, because I haven't been able to give it to anyone, not because it's a secret, but because it's, you know, too early. But yeah, hotsauce.video. and you can get to anything we're doing there. And then I have the most fun and the most impact on LinkedIn and YouTube. So Hot Sauce Video in those two spaces as well. And what's cool about LinkedIn and YouTube is you can learn a ton without having to give me any money. So there's a lot of resources there to.
Right. And then it's an opportunity if somebody wants to shoot you a message or something and chat with you. They know where you hang out.
Yep. And then the last thing I like to share on podcasts, because a lot of them still go out audio only or definitely audio as part of the whole package, is I bought a URL years ago because I had my own show. And I had my own show to get good at being on shows. And so when I started guesting more, I bought the URL danhaslinks.com, and all my links are there. So you can find me anywhere at danhaslinks.com.
Very good. Very good. Okay. We'll have that.
People driving in the car.
Good. Yes. Dan has links. That's actually easy to remember. That's really good. You're good at branding things.
Trying, man.
All right. Until next time, appreciate everything. We'll see you around.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And Unified Plugins offers tools to take your WordPress projects to the next level, helping you build beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive more conversions. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with somebody who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building with intention and creativity.